In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about what I'm excited to chat with Coach Brind'Amour about. First of all, they've been active this offseason already. It does still feel like the Canes have kind of a anticipation of maybe another big move on the way. They're linked obviously with players like Erik Karlsson in a trade or a few others. But when you already brought in Dmitry Orlov, who many regard as the top defense option in the free agency field, or you've already brought in Michael Bunting, which I think is at the position that they were should have been most interested in improving up there in the forward spot, somebody that can find the back of the net. There's, you start to see what their plan was, or you start to see what the blueprints were for the Hurricanes coming into this offseason, and that all becomes much more interesting when you realize this is a team that is a tweak or two away from achieving the lofty goals that they set for themselves. Right? When I'm sure there's a frustration when you're knocking on the door of something like a Stanley Cup final, right? I'm sure there is a why isn't it happening? Why hasn't it happened already? Those sorts of things. But when you're just that close, you don't want to make the massive moves. Sometimes you just want to make the moves that'll get you over that hump. And with that being said, let's bring him on. Rod Brind'Amour, Carolina Hurricanes head coach on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Coach, thank you very much for joining us and cutting the time out of your day. We'll start with this. We were just talking about the Dmitry Orlov signing, obviously continuing building up that defense, which has been pretty awesome. One of, if not the best NHL defense over the past few seasons. What is it about Orlov that made you interested in adding him to the mix?
Wow, what's not to like? I mean, I think, number one, we played against this guy for a long time, and it's nice to you know what you're getting. The guy's plays really competitive and physical, and he's got in my opinion, kind of an underrated offensive flair. He's real good with the puck, and I think he fits pretty well with really any team. I mean, obviously he went to Boston and did well there, and I think he's going to be a good fit for us.
When you have a defense that is at or near the top for a few consecutive seasons here as far as goals allowed average, is there any concern, even with as accomplished and as you just mentioned, as effective as Dimitri's been in the past, in throwing a wrench into any of that's worked so well?
100%. I mean, that's me every year. I'm like, I don't want to switch the group, but you know how it goes. I mean, guys come and go, unfortunately. And really, as we stand here today, we lost, Ghost to spare, and we replaced him with Orlov. That's pretty good, right? Like that's pretty impressive. So, with our system, it does take a while to kind of, I'd say, get up to speed. And so, there's obviously you don't want to have a bunch of changeover, but we have had a lot of changeover the last really 3-4 years, and we seem to be done all right. So, I think he's a pro, and I don't think he'll have a problem adapting to the way we do things.
Rod Brind'Amour, Carolina Hurricanes head coach, connecting with us here on the phone lines on The Drive on 99.9 The Fan. Another big signing and bringing in forward Michael Bunting. What do you expect to get from Bunting now that he is away from Austin Matthews and some of that Maple Leafs firepower?
Yeah, well, we hope he brings what as kind of he's advertised, which he plays hard. Again, we keep talking about this competitiveness theme. I mean, that's really important, and he's got a flair around the net. And you watch, he scored 20, which that's pretty good. But it's where he gets the goals, right? He's at the net, and that's how you score in this league, especially playoff time. It's just nice to have a guy that kind of not afraid to get in there and mix it up a little. I mean, he's not a big guy or anything, but I think the way he plays, just again, it fits kind of the way we want to play, and hopefully he can bring a little bit of that, feistiness too. I think that's obviously something that you can't have too much of.
When you talk about the kind of that area of the ice that he occupies and some of the style and feistiness that he brings, what does that do for the spacing for guys like Aho and Jarvis that might play a little bit of a different game and play off of that?
Totally right. Like that's the thing about good players. You can't necessarily stick 3 of the same players together. The fit doesn't quite work, right? And so if you have a guy that can get in there and create loose pucks and get open at the net, does it free up a little bit of space for, like you mentioned, Aho or whoever that he's playing with? I mean, that's that's the idea behind it, right? I think that's the effectiveness of some guy. You look like a Martinuk, who's just gets in there and creates a lot of ozone time for his teammates, and that's kind of very similar to what Bunting will be able to do for us.
Rod Brind'Amour, Carolina Hurricanes head coach, joining the drive here on the phone lines. Rod, the rumors are constantly swirling about bigger moves, maybe bigger splash moves that are still on the table this offseason, and sometimes it even feels like almost imminent, right? There's that like anticipation of it. Do you have a feeling like the shakeup might happen again between now and opening night?
Well, I'd love to give you the honest answer, but
it's just us, right? It's your first time on the show. We're just getting to know each other. Maybe tell a secret or two.
I can't tell you what's going to happen. What I will say, I think it's a great thing. We have an owner that if there's a player out there that he thinks or that we think could help our team, he's all about trying to figure out how to make it happen. And so that's why, I don't know. You listen to the summer stuff and everyone's talking. Our team seems to be involved in everything.
Exactly.
It's just because that's the facts. Like, he's literally, if that guy can help us, let's figure out how we can get him in the mix. And that's a great thing, right? When you got an owner like that and who it's just about winning. And we have to figure out, sometimes tell him, look, that piece won't fit or whatever, but he's at least trying to figure out how to acquire that talent. So the long answer to your question is I think everything's still up in the air, but I'd be really just happy to go with what we got going right now.
And kind of along those lines, but another storyline or narrative around this offseason is that Carolina has really become a place that players want to play, right? In free agency, they're seeking it out because you've had the success. The system and culture seems to be one that most players would enjoy going to. Does that almost make it more tempting to shake things up because you know that there are these very talented, very accomplished players that are looking at Carolina maybe differently than they did a decade ago?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think it's just a testament to the organization, the players we have here now, but really the area as well. Like guys that have been here, the word gets out, right, when they go elsewhere, and that takes some time. The players come and go, and it's just obviously it helps when you have success here. So lately we've been, last few years here, we've certainly, been one of the better teams. And so people come here and play against us, and they realize what a great barn we have and the fan support, and you start comparing it to other places in the NHL, and suddenly it's one of the best places to play and live, and checks all the boxes. So it's really just a testament to everybody involved, the fans, the area, the organization, and then the way I always at the end of the day, the players we have here right now.
Rod Brind'Amour, Carolina Hurricanes head coach, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Rod, I hate to ask you about something that I saw on social media, but I'm going to do it anyway. I saw Svechnikov is back skating again after the knee injury. Everything on track there? Can we allow ourselves to kind of get giddy with the thought of having Svechnikov healthy for an entire season?
Well, that's the plan. I certainly hope so. I think we're. He's been feeling good for a long time, but we're definitely, I don't want to say slow playing it, but we're making sure that we're doing everything as, by the book as we can. He's itching to get out there and really crank it up, but there's obviously no reason to be doing that. So it's good to see that I would just say he's on track of everything that we're, would have hoped. And the one thing you got to love about him and really all our guys is, you never worry about doing enough, right? Like they always do way more, and so we have to kind of hold them back. And you like to have 20 guys like that where, you're worried that they're doing too much and not enough.
You had, speaking of being on the ice, you had all your prospects together on the ice for development camp a couple weeks ago. Did you put them through like a true Brind'Amour workout? Are they all going to be shredded and pumped up, ready to flex on them this season?
We used to do that, and then we just decided that it's really, you don't really we don't want to scare them, we don't want to scare them away here, but I think it's changed a little bit how we view the development camp. So we're more, give them a little introduction. We do one test with them, that's an NHL kind of hard test, and that's just to kind of plant the seed. And then it's really that whole week's about them just trying to understand and take something away from what we're throwing at them. And, like, we're not going to see these kids for, a few years. Maybe you get the top guy, maybe next year or the year after, but realistically, that's a long process. So there's really no rush in throwing too much at them.
You don't take the 160-pound first-round draft pick and put him in the bench rack next to you and throw a bunch of weight on there just to show him what's up?
No, that's not really going to benefit too much. It is amazing. You got to remember, some of these kids are just, just turning 18, and I mean they're just kids, right? And they're so far away from where they're going to be and end up. And there's only a few like Svechnikovs in the world that when you see him at 18, you realize that there's not much more this guy can do. He's already a man, but these kids got a long ways to go.
Did anyone, and this will be the last one before we get you out of here, thank you for taking the time, did anyone at the development camp kind of stand out that maybe we're not super familiar with yet, that hasn't been in the big leagues and shown off already?
Well, I like a lot of the kids, to be honest, because there's something now, most of them I haven't seen either, right? I had no real concept, and I loved our first round pick this year. Looked really solid and kind of came as advertised, real quick and great shot, and just I loved the way he competed in practice. Like it was just he was full go all the time, and those are good habits to have, right? So I love where he's going. He's going to go to play college hockey in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
I think college hockey game is great for development because you get all that practice time and working on your game and your body, and so I think he's going to be a guy to look for in the future. And Scott Morrow was a kid that's been here a few times, and he's a college kid too, but he's a bit older now, so he's probably a little closer to crack in the near future. And so we got a couple kids in there for sure that we're definitely planning on them being here at some point.
Coach, we appreciate you for taking the time. Hopefully we're able to do this a few more times this offseason, and hopefully you're enjoying your offseason.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And, anytime. Give me a shout. Take care.